Coming up on Double Take Sports Talk with the Watts Brothers, we will have your final scores and recaps from the previous night's playoffs games. We will also preview tonight's games and much more with your host, Darrell Watts. That is coming up next.
All right, this is it. Double Take Sports Talk with the Watts Brothers. I'm your host, Darrell Watts. On the opposite side, say hello to Darrell Watts, everybody.
Yep. Welcome to the show.
All right. How you feeling, Darrell? You doing all right?
Oh, always. Good.
Good beans, man. Good beans. Well, we got some things to cover in our sports world of NBA, NFL, and MLB.
Oh, yeah.
So, you ready to knock this one out? You ready to go to work?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. All right, we got final scores and stats from the previous games. Let's go ahead and take a look at them. All right. The recap of the NBA of the Indiana Pacers. Of course, they got swept by the defending champs, Cleveland Cavaliers. Darren, your thoughts on this recap?
You just got outplayed, plain and simple. I have no comments, no recaps, no nothing. Just nothing to really talk about on that behalf. But now that we mention it, for you, based off your final thoughts off the previous show, when you look at this entire series, do you believe that the Pacers could have won 7 in this series?
Yeah. I believe that the Pacers could have took this game to 7. But like I said, I believe the NBA didn't want that. I believe that the NBA was pissed that the Pacers got in. After that addition that they signed Lance Stevenson, their plan got backfired. I truly believe that they had Detroit and Miami going into the playoffs.
Oh, Miami was definitely that option.
Mm-hmm. I believe Miami, based off of LeBron James used to playing for the Heat, they are still fanatic about ticket sales and games being sold out and stuff like that. It may not be what it used to be, but they probably had a couple of sold-out games as they started to improve, stuff like that, and they had a better team market.
But here's my problem with your theory.
Okay.
If the NBA was really pissed about the Pacers being in the playoffs in the first place, do you not think that they would have tried harder to make sure that the Pacers was not in the playoffs? Do you think about it? If they really did not want the Pacers in the playoff, it would have happened. When you consider the refs in the Miami Heat games, Detroit games, who else in the Bulls games? I believe to a point where if the NBA did not want them in, if the NBA did not want the Pacers in, they would have made sure that Miami would have had an edge in majority of their games, and the Bulls has a majority lead in their games.
Right.
They would have done everything to turn the favors to them to make sure that the Pacers didn't make it. What went wrong?
Here's what went wrong for me, in my personal opinion. Now, I've noticed when we did the analysis portion for the recap of the Pacer games versus previous teams, what was the one thing that stood out to us in the category? It was one category that stood out to us when we did a Pacers analysis. So before they signed Lance Stevenson, the one thing that they have always sucked at and they barely improved on was three-point shooting. When they signed Lance Stevenson, guess what went up? Three-point shooting. Three-point shooting boosted up to them, I think, over 48%, close to 50. Before they signed Stevenson, I think it was 38. That's what happened. The Pacers was drilling threes. And that's how their plan got backfired. Because they wasn't barely taking it to the paint. If it was, and then Miles Turner was taking over. And Paul George was taking over. They had high field goal percentages. They had high field goal percentages when after they signed Lance Stevenson. Paul George had continued his stroke, but he couldn't do it all by himself. That's why they was losing games. It was meant for them to be out of this playoffs. It was not meant for them to be in this playoffs. Lance Stevenson came in there and started shooting their lights out. He started taking them to the paint. What else more addition could backfire to that?
Interesting. I mean, I just thought the NBA would have tried a little bit more harder.
And you're exactly right. They would have, but
because all they needed was a Pacer loss in order for them not to even get to the playoffs. That's all they needed.
Well,
and
they expected
for the Bulls and who else was it? Miami to win games. That's all they needed, and that could have really easily could have happened.
Well, the Bulls and the Heat won,
but they didn't win.
But they didn't win the spots. Well, the Miami didn't win a spot. I believe the NBA had expected the Pacers to at least lose to a bench team of Atlanta Hawks. But we knew that wasn't going to happen. They had believed that the Pacers was going down so badly that they could just that the coaches could just say, bring on the bench, and the Pacers, they could just beat the Pacers. They could beat them. But everything, to me, it just backfired.
Very interesting. Okay, very interesting. Just to highlight that, Darrell believe that the Pacers would not have made the playoffs, but actually, he believed that the NBA was supposed to have not let the Pacers get into the playoffs, but they snuck in there somehow, some way, and that's why they got swept.
Yeah.
So there you have it. Recap: Pacer season, Pacer playoffs. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the previews. Of course, the Pacers have swept out the series, but then we speak of that of teams being eliminated. We have the Pacers and the Bucks for the East, and then for the West we have the Thunder and the Blazers. So now, as it's starting to dwindle, it's going to be pretty interesting on how everything works out up into the NBA Finals, because we could see another potential three-peat matchup
rematch, I should say. All right, let's take a look at the scoreboard for the upcoming games of the NBA. Here we go. All right, let's take a look at the scoreboard for the upcoming games of the NBA. Here we go.
Preview: Chicago Cubs, St. Louis Cardinals. Let's take a look at the Chicago Cubs previews.
All right. For the Chicago Cubs, Red Sox and Cubs. Theo Epstein makes his back to Boston as the Cubs travel to Boston to take on the Red Sox for a 3-game series. Tip-off for tonight's game, 7:10 at Fenway Park. It's going to be on CSNC, and of course MLB Network. And for the Red Sox, it will be on ESN or NESN and also the MLB Network. The two starters for these two matchups is going to be Jake Arrieta for the Cubs. He is 3-0 with a 3.65 ERA and 29 strikeouts. And for the Red Sox, we got Drew Pomeranz. He is a left-handed pitcher. He is 1-1 with a 4.60 ERA with 20 strikeouts. Moving on to Saturday's game, we have, of course, a 4:05 pitch-off. It's going to be on FS1 for Chicago and ABC 7. And the same thing for Boston, except it's also going to be on FS1 too. The pitchers for this matchup, for Saturday's matchup, is going to be John Lackey. He's a right-handed pitcher. He's 1-3 with a 4.88 ERA with 26 strikeouts. And for the Red Sox, we have Stephen Wright. He is a right-handed pitcher also. He is 1-2 with a 8.66 ERA with 9 strikeouts. And lastly, but not least, for Sunday's game, April 30th, that is going to be an 8:05 pitch-off. Brett Anderson, left-handed pitcher, is going to be starting this one. He is 2-0 with 3.54 ERA with 14 strikeouts. And, of course, the Red Sox is to be determined. They have not figured out a pitcher yet for that start, but it looked like it should be an easy one for the Red Sox, in my personal opinion. This is going to be the first time these two teams met since 2014, and that's when the Cubs had swept the Red Sox.
They didn't play at all 2015?
No.
Interesting. With the way that their schedules are, I thought they would at least play every baseball team at least once.
Nah, this is the first time they met since 2014.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Well, actually, no, you're right. This is the first time they have met at Fenway Park since 2014.
Look at that. That makes sense.
That makes sense.
That's better.
Yeah, that's when Chicago has swept the series. Mm-hmm. So this is the first time they are traveling to Fenway Park since 2014.
Right. Now that makes more better sense.
Yeah, I had to reread that again. So, yep. This is the interleague series. The first meeting with at Fenway Park since 2014. The Cubs swept that series. I believe it was Jake Arrieta. He floated with a no-hitter, but then that was broken up by Stephen Drew with a single with 2 outs in the 8th. And, of course, Arrieta's received a standing ovation for his performance that game. Mm-hmm. So, all All right, that's my portions for the previews of the Cubs and the Red Sox. There. Cardinals.
Okay. Let's take a look real quick at a preview for Game 1 and the starting pitchers. For Game 1, first pitch is at 8:15 p.m. Catch that game on FSM at the Busch Stadium. The starting pitchers for the Cincinnati Reds, is Tim Alderman with a 0-0 record, 2.70 ERA, and 12 strikeouts, going up against Lance Lynn with a 2-1 record, 2.70 ERA, and 20 strikeouts. For tonight's game at Busch Stadium, just to note, the Cardinals will announce their 2017 inductees into the Organizations Hall of Fame. This year's class is going to include 2 modern player candidates. These are 2 fans that's going to be selected from the ballot. That includes Steve Carlton and Keith Hernandez, and players such as Jason Eisenhauser, Tim McCarver, Edgar Renteria, and Scott Rowland, as well as veteran players chosen by the panel of baseball writers and experts. That's Game 1 preview. Game 2, first pitch at 2:15 on
Scott
FSM.
Rowland can go kick rocks.
Why?
I don't like Scott. He used to kill us every time he came to Chicago. We went over there to St. Louis.
Man, I love
He
Scott
could go
Rowland.
kick rocks.
Love that man to death. Golly, he was fantastic. That's what boosted the rival. Game 2, first pitch, 2:15 on FSN. The starting pitchers is Bronson Arroyo for the Reds with the 2-2 record and a 6.86 ERA and 16 strikeouts, going up against Mike Leake with a 3-1 record, 1.32 ERA, and 20 strikeouts. And then Game 3, first pitch at 2:15 p.m. on FSM again for St. Louis. Your starting pitchers are to be determined for both teams. Then are your previews for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Quickly, what you got? Cardinals.
I think I got the Reds. No, I'm sorry, I got the Cardinals sweeping the Reds.
Okay. I got the Cubs. Winning this series against the Red Sox. It's not going to be a sweep, but they're going to win this series against the Red Sox. All right, that is your preview for the Cubs and Cardinals games, respectively, against the Red Sox and the Reds. Okay. Let's take a look at the headlines from our respective sports world of NBA, NFL, and MLB. We're going to kick this one off with the NBA. The Raptors 905, the D-League, they won their finals playoff thingamajiggy. So, Isaiah Thomas to attend his sister's funeral on Saturday. I know that was rough trying to plan in between the playoffs and doing that. Man, I know they got it.
Well, I think the most important part of that is that the team had his back throughout that whole ordeal. So I think the easier part, I think they relieved a lot of the easier part for him to be able to plan around the team's schedule and let him focus on the family versus trying to do both at the same time. So I think that's what really alleviated that. But I think the most depressing and the most disappointing is the fact that, this is his sister that we're talking about here. Yeah. And it was at the most inconvenient time ever. We'd have seen a lot of NBA, NFL players go through this at one point in time in their careers.
Yeah. Absolutely. And plus, Brad Stevens giving Isaiah Thomas the choices of him to make, during this process, which probably helped the whole situation too. So he has a lot of support around him, and they try to attend the funeral too. So that's why they try to work around that too. All right. Steve Kerr, of course, if you've been noticing there, he's been having back problems. So he
had an illness previous to that too.
Yeah, he had a little illness previous to that too, and also just led into his back issues too. So Yep. So they just sweeping it on, moving on. They really don't need him anyways. So.
Hey, Mike Brown taking over as coach for right now.
Who?
Mike Brown.
Probably. Also, Westbrook has no thought on contract situation. Does that mean that he is not thinking about the contract? I sincerely hope so. But all season presses on.
Yeah.
Joakim Noah, he underwent shoulder surgery. Before we move to the NBA, I got a quick question for you. Everybody.
You mean the NFL? Before we move
on to the NFL, I meant to have said before I actually wrap up the NBA and move on to the NFL, but I just did not think to say that. So before I move on to the NFL real quick, I got a quick question for you. Everybody talked about this locally, and everybody's been talking about the whole Paul George ordeal. Do you think he's actually leaving?
Well, he still got one more year on his contract. I don't know if that's an opt-out contract or not, but if it's not an opt-out contract, of course, he ain't got a choice. But if it is an opt-out contract, I think he's going to opt out and try to go somewhere else.
Well,
but that also
even if it's not. Well, I was going to say, even though it may or may not be an opt-out contract, it can still be requested to be traded. So that could play a significant role.
I think it could play a significant role, but at the same time, up until this point, I think he's probably going to want to release. I don't think he ain't going to try to go for no trade at this point. I think he's going to want to be released and see what options that he have to make sure that he make a careful consideration versus just being traded off to some team that may not even have a chance at an NBA championship. So at this point, I think he will want to be released. But if anything, I think Bird's going to try to convince him to try to really stay and hopefully get him some help. That's what I think Bird's going to do. But I don't think Bird's going to do it. I think George is just going to ask for a release.
Well, Bird just
opt out. Well, he's just going to opt out of his contract. One of the two is going to happen.
Well, Bird's got to go. That's the one thing. He is just running everybody away. It all started with David West. So.
Oh, nobody ran away. Nobody didn't run away. Everybody ran away themselves because they had a good team going in. They really had a good team with Wood Hibbert, David West, Paul George, Lance Stevenson, and George Hill. They had a good team. It was just a bench that stunk. They had a good team, but the most important part of it was that when all the drama started. So I don't think it was necessarily Bird in that time. I think it just became more of Bird's issue when he did not live up to the standards of keeping up with the maintenance of the team.
That's a good theory. When David West decided he didn't want no part of the Pacers anymore, I thought that would have been Bird's issue. But good theory on that behalf.
No, I don't think it's Bird's. I don't think that was Bird's issue. I just think that the drama in the locker room with Roy Hibbert, Lance Stevenson, and all them is when everything started to come about. They got beat by Miami again. It just stunk. I don't think that was really a Larry Bird issue then. I don't think so. I just thought flat out it was just David West just wanted to be with a better team because they couldn't get past Miami.
Mm-hmm. And it looked like he ain't doing no better either. So
exactly. That's what I'm saying. It wouldn't even matter. It felt like it ain't even the Bird issue at that point because he still can't win.
Okay. Moving on to the NFL. Of course, the NFL draft has been underway. Very interesting picks. And the one thing that really gets my attention about this whole thing is how the media is grading teams when it comes to drafting these players. And I feel, why are you grading these teams about, the drafts and who they drafted? I mean, why is that a concern? I mean, I understand that you're trying to find something to do with your life, but I feel that if you're actually going to just debunk and grade, that makes me feel like that you could do better than them. And which you're probably in no position to be no better if you was actually a general manager, a CEO, or president of some sort for a team. That's what really gets my attention. I just had to throw that out there. That just really makes me mad.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I mean, it's really nothing here. It was just really all about the draft. I had posted out some of the breaking news of the draft on Twitter. So if you want to check them out, there's someone there that came from NFL.com. But if you want the full detail of it, you can just check out NFL.com or just go to our Twitter page at DTST2414 to check out the NFL draft. Moving on to baseball. Of course, we mentioned it during the preview. Theo Epstein makes his return back to Boston in the 3-game series against the Red Sox. That's the Cubs take on the Red Sox. Darrell, your Cards swept the Brewers.
I'm still muted. I'm surprised at that. But congratulations, St. Louis. They swept them.
Yep, they swept them. Matt Carpenter was a big factor to that, and even though he still got suspended for a game, they still did it without him. So I'm very impressed with the Cardinals.
So am I.
Yeah. The Nationals remain hot. I don't know what their record is, but they are on a roll. But they always seem to do this. They always seem to get hot at the beginning of the season, but then after the All-Star break or a little before the All-Star break, they break down. That's all I got for the MLB portion of this. That is your headlines for the NBA, NFL, and MLB aspect of the sports world. All right, ladies and gentlemen, final thoughts to wrap up this podcast. Darrell, you got something for us?
No, I don't. I don't have anything. I thought I'd sneeze, but no, I don't have anything. That would have been my final thought right there.
Yeah, if you sneezed, yeah.
Yeah, that would have been my final thought.
Right, of course. I got something real quick. This really just caught my attention. Darrell, I was on my way home this morning, and I happened to turn right into Washington Street, and I happened to look slightly to my left, and I seen a lady. I don't know what they call a professional word or anything like that, but I seen this lady. She was blind. So she started to make her way across the street and then just stopped dead in her tracks.
Yeah, she heard you.
No, I was already at the light. Already at the light. When she started to cross, she crossed, but she wasn't on, my side. She was on the opposite side. And she just stopped dead in the tracks. Dead in her tracks. And she stopped right in front of this truck. It was a big pickup truck. And she just stood there. Just stood there. That scared me half to death. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching. And I'm like, what is she doing? And as I started to put two and two together, she realized that she heard incoming cars and she thought they was turning right. But they was yielding to turn left because they was on the East Street side of the campus. They was on the East Street. And they was yielding to turn left. And then as cars started to turn on, that's when she went on and went across the street. It about scared me half to death when she just stopped dead in the tracks. About scared me half to death.
Well, they do got to survive. So, yeah, but their ears are their most reliable part of their body to be able to listen since they can't see.
They can't see, yeah. That about scared me half to death because I thought she was starting to freak out or starting to panic or nothing like that. You just come to find out that, of course, she can't see. She just have to kind of observe and hear what was going on. So it just gets crap. So yeah, that was the whole deal with that. That just kind of sketched crap out of me. I just had to just throw it out there to you.
Interesting.
But that's all I got. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. Get up on out of here. Okay. All right. That ends another edition of Double Take Sports Talk. If you like what you see, give the video a thumbs up. How you feel about today's show, you can just comment on the comment section below as usual. We are here. But until then, I'm Darrell. There's on the opposite side.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Catch up with us on another episode of Double Take Sports Talk. Until then, ciao.
Ciao.
Double Take Sports Talk here with me, Darrell Watts. As many of you know, me and Darrell enjoy talking sports and giving out stats, but we also enjoy entertaining while doing it. So with that being said, you can check us out on the social media side and get more involved in our podcast. And we're on Twitter at DTST2414, or you like us on Facebook, Double Take Sports Talk page at The Watch Brothers. We're also on YouTube. Like, share, do what you got to do with that. Once again, we don't mind. Also, we are finally back on the podcast app for audio only purposes for those who enjoy audio only of our podcast. We're also on the blog, feature critical thinking and analysis, and you can check that out at doubletakesportstalk.blogspot.com. Thanks again.
Yeah.
My fault.
Not good. Shit.
sorry. I'm gonna stop doing it. I'm so sorry. I really am. I get like I see the dribble pattern and I'm just like, if it's just like as soon as it bounces,
get the red.
yeah. Couldn't get around the big dude. He wasn't even in the screen. I just got stuck on him.
Yeah. Ah. Oops. And I thought that was going in.
Come on. Yeah, I did too, bro. That's why I was like, I was open. I had it. It looked like it was cleaning that for it.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. You're stretch big, bro. You can't take it up like that.
Oh.
Damn.
Oh. Y'all too busy down there flopping. Left y'all dude hanging down there, man.
Boy, y'all left y'all boy annihilated.
Yes. Y'all just pretty much just left the shootout.
Man.
Whoops.
You don't want it.
Hands.
You know what I'm saying? Buckets.
It better be. It better be.
Right up, man.
Yeah. Oh, man down.
How the man down?
Yeah.
I didn't even see him go for no move. It must be some shit I wasn't aware of.
Ain't that it?
Oh!
Mm.
Get out the bad shot selection.
Watch out for my dude. Mm. Nice pickup, though. Nice pickup. Jolly Rancher.
Good shot.
Thank you.
He's sitting down there on purpose. I'm trying to figure out what he's doing and why he's doing that.
Cherry picking. If he ain't lagging, he cherry picking.
That sounds about right.
Well, unless he really lagging.
I don't know. Because he could. I don't think so. Yeah, he just standing back there.
Yeah, you might be right, Jace. He might be cherry picking.
Oh, get your ass out of there. Jumping for. Guys, love. Yeah, bruh.
My bad, James. Seen you too late.
Nah, you feel good.
Yep. Yeah, really.
I figured you was gonna do something that just needed enough to drive around you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was gonna try to draw a foul at the bucket.
Right. And one.
And one. Oh, that's a bullshit.
It is. It is.
Ah, sophomore, bro. What the? How did the sham guy turn into a behind the back move? I'm good. I'm done.